people serving, but without love, then they will serve not very happily, not with joy. If you have people doing administrative work who are gifted in administration, if they don't have love, they will a lot of times be very impatient with people. So you get the idea here. Yes, it's important for us to exercise the gift of the Holy Spirit, but if we don't have love, Paul is saying we're nothing. And we're going to run into a host of problems if we don't have love for one another. Now, there is something, Paul, as I said, Paul here begins with the necessity of love. Love is necessary not only in the function of the spiritual gifts, but love is necessary in all facets of life. And then from verses 4 to 7, here again in the love chapter, he deals with the quality of love. What does love look like? And so I'm going to read this again as a kind of a review for us. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Now that's where we are right now in verse 7. So I've taken one Sunday for each of these. Love always protects. That's a good translation, actually. In the King James, I think it's endures all things. But actually, bears all things. The word bears comes from the Greek word roof, which means to cover, as a protection. And that's why the NIV translated that love always protects. And then the last message that I gave, love always trusts. The King James is the literal translation, and it is a literal translation. Love believes all things. What does it mean? It means that love always trusts. Now these are what I call hyperbolic statements. These are exaggerated statements to make a point. Jewish people do this all the time. Remember, Paul was a Jew. So you have to be able to look at these words and try to figure out what is Paul really saying here. So this morning we're going to look at love always hopes. Literally, the translation is love hopes all things. And I think that this translation, that love always hopes, is a good translation. So that's what we're going to look at this morning. Love, what does it mean? Love hopes for the best in people. Okay? Love hopes for the best in people. In other words, if you really love people, you will hope for the best for them. And that is what I think Paul is talking about here. So, the key thought I want to share with you this morning is this, that love sees and generates hope in people. Love sees and generates hope in people. So, how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, first of all, having hope in people involves a positive attitude towards people. This is where it begins. It has to begin here. Having hope in people involves a positive attitude towards people. Let me be more specific here. If we're going to do this, then we have to get rid of what I call "you are a loser" attitude. You're a loser attitude. You see, because that kind of attitude will somehow be communicated to people. If you have children, and if you have this attitude toward any of your children, it's going to come across to them in one way or another by the way you talk to them, the words that you speak to them, the way that you treat them. And it's true for all people. I remember years ago when our boys were young, growing up, my wife and I read this book. It was written by two mothers. They were not Christians, but They had a lot of good things about child rearing. And I remember this story this mother told. She was observing her son and saw that her son wasn't behaving quite well. And so she decided one day to sit down with him and talk to him. And she really had kind of a list of things that she had written down that she wanted to talk to her son about. So she sat him down on his bed, and she sat across him and began to go down a list of things that he needed to work on. Now her son was, like maybe 10 years old or so. And after she got done with the list, she said, "Well, what do you think?" And his shoulders drooped, and he kind of looked down and he said, "Well, I guess I'm just a loser." And the mother